She sounded far from convinced as she forced me down into a flowery bedroom chair and handed me the hunk of cake and a brimming teacup. As she unfolded one of her dainty lace napkins and placed it on my knee, she scrutinized me, as if wondering if it was worth paying the asking price for a battered bunch of bruised bananas. Then, standing back to view me from a distance, she muttered to herself, "No, that will never do." She pulled a large tablecloth from her tea table drawer, unfurled it, and tucked it firmly into the top of my blouse. "That should help. After all, it's only my rejected ladies," she pointed out offhandedly as she carried on dressing me. Once she'd wobbled away, I looked down at myself. The tablecloth now shrouded me like a poncho and was obviously in keeping with the 70s ensemble. It was lime green and decorated with hideous orange and brown flowers. In one hand I held high the teacup, and in the other I balanced the huge slab of cake. I looked like a psychedelic Lady Justice, except right then I actually envied the fact she was blind. Looking around the group of ladies as they nibbled on their slabs of cake, sharing and savoring nuggets of village gossip, I found I knew most of them, at least by sight. Ruby was also there. It was rumored she'd lived a very wild life in her 20s, being a part of the 60s music scene. It was also rumored her name was really Brenda, but she had changed it to Ruby Sky during that time. She liked to brag she'd once dated Bob Dylan, and insisted she helped him write the lyrics for Blowing in the Wind. She also claimed she'd been on a crazy road of drugs and rock and roll until she'd discovered knitting in her 32nd year, professing that yarn had been her savior, and the only way to channel her wayward energy into something productive. She may have been a knitted hippie at heart, but if you were looking for someone to lead a revolution, she was your gal. She'd never married, and when people asked her about it, she would say, "Why would I do something like that?" As if you had just asked her to eat dirt. When she'd claimed this year on her 70th birthday that it was time for her to start slowing down, no one had much believed her, especially as she'd celebrated it by dancing naked on the beach at midnight and then skinny dipping in the bone-chilling sound. I could hear her talking about patterns to a woman next to her. I didn't know that woman, but she was knitting a blue matinee coat using sparkly purple needles. Across the room was Flora, who worked at the florist and was painfully shy. Gangly and awkward, she stared at the ground and sipped delicately from her teacup. She'd been a teenager the first time I'd met her, when her family had moved to the island from a large city on the East Coast. Floating into the library, she'd been not unlike an uncomfortable waif out of a Dickens novel. With a pair of oversized spectacles perched on her nose, she'd given the appearance of a scared owl. She had the palest hair that hung long and limp down her back, and rice paper skin to match. I remembered thinking if I could hold her up to the light, I would be able to see right through her. That first day she'd drifted up to my desk looking for Anne of Green Gables. That was 5 years ago, and even though her body had grown into that of a woman, she still looked exactly the same. A shy, gentle creature, uncomfortable in her own skin. You couldn't help but adore her. As I tried to get her attention, the door burst open. The Labette twins had arrived, identically dressed as usual. Always impeccable, they wore midnight blue suits trimmed in shell pink with matching blue hats, white silk blouses, and pumps. They arrived accompanied by Doris's mother, whom everyone lovingly referred to as Gracie. The three of them entered carrying a pile of colorful packages, creating a flurry of activity as they juggled them to administer heartfelt hugs. "Darlings, so sorry we kept y'all waiting," said Lavinia in her strong southern drawl. And as twins often do, Charlotte, whom everyone called Lottie, picked up her sister's sentence. I told Lavinia, I said, "Lavinia, we are going to be late unless you get your patootie into gear." I prayed all the way from town. Lord, please don't let us be late and have us keep those dear ladies waiting. That would never be a part